Hello YouTube, it's Si here from Si Moto Photo. Welcome back to the channel, I hope you're well. Today is another special day actually. We are taking out this rather spectacular looking Bobber Chrome Edition. This is a bike I've not really spent much time on, to be honest. I've had a couple of shots, we had one last year, a few shots of it, but I've spent a bit of time in this today, and I'm going to take you along for a ride with me and we can look at the bike in detail, tell you what I think about it, and hopefully you can put your comments in the comment section and tell me what you think about it as well. It's a really fantastic looking motorcycle and I can't wait to throw a leg over it and get a ride on it, so come on, let's go for a ride. So the Triumph Bobber. So this whole Bobber thing kicked off back in the 1920s, and it wasn't a genre of motorcycle. It was more a kind of styling exercise that lots of people done back in the day. They stripped the bike right back to the bare essentials. So if it didn't need to be on the bike, if it didn't make it faster, they would just rip it off. And it's been, you know, popular all the way through. You know, in the 1930s it got more popular, and I think it peaked, the popularity of the Bobber style motorcycle peaked in the 50s, and as you all know, it's kind of taken a bit of a resurgence. It's pretty much a factory custom that Triumph do. It almost looks like a custom bike. It's just oozing lots and lots of style and personality. It's a really gorgeous motorcycle to look at, a real head turner, and wherever you park it up, people want to know about it and ask you about it. You know, what age is that? Is that a newer bike? Is it an older bike? What is it? You know, it's just different looking from anything else. You've got, you kind of sit in the bike, your body's like a C shape almost. It's mid pegs, but they're not underneath your bum. They're sort of, your legs are at a, you know, as if you were sitting in the loo. Your legs are your feet are underneath your knees, so you're sitting almost like bolt upright. But the way the bars are on this, they're flat, straight bars, so they pull you across the tank a little bit, so your body's almost shaped like a C shape. So it takes a bit of getting used to, but you know, it's actually okay. The seat in the bike is like it's almost like a cup. It just kind of cups your buttocks, and initially it's quite comfortable, but I would imagine, you know, doing a really long journey on this bike, and I've been on this bike for about maybe an hour and a half or so today already, and your bum does get a little bit numb, I have to be honest, but I think you could probably dial that out. We done a bobber in the shop recently, a custom bobber. I'll stick some pictures up and let you see it. A really tremendous looking baby blue colour. It was a gorgeous looking bike, and we put a seat that was done by a guy called Tom Hurley on the bike, and it was like a custom type antique brown seat, but it was really comfortable, and you know, I think that would be a really worthwhile upgrade if you did own one of these bikes. But the bike setup is really quite firm. You've got non-adjustable suspension on the bike, and it is, I don't know if firm's the right word, but it's, the travel it's got is fine, but it doesn't have a lot of travel, so you'll crash through the back shock quite easily, and when you do, your back will tell you about it. As I just jump out the seat for that little bump in the road there. There's a common upgrade that a lot of guys do that come into the shop, a lot of guys and girls do, and if you've done this upgrade, I'd be really interested to know if you stick it down in the comments and tell me how you got on with it, what difference it made to the bike. But a lot of people seem to put a Fox shock on the bike, and I've not actually caught up with anybody that's put that upgrade on the bike to find out how it went. So please, if you have done it, let me know how it went, because I'm really keen to know and understand what difference that actually makes to the bobber. But you know, overall build quality of the bike is superb. It's typical Triumph. You know, you've got some really, you know, superb components on the bike, Brembo brakes, you've got a lovely set of bar end mirrors here, You've got, you know, and these bar-end mirrors just work really well for me. I can see perfectly well by them, can see everything in the mirror, and they're not vibey. Although when you are travelling at speed on this bike, I tend to get a really high frequency buzz through the tank. But I'm being unfair, because you can move this seat back. You need a tool to move it back, but I've not moved it, so my nuts are sitting against the tank, and I'm getting this high frequency buzz coming through the tank, and it's giving me buzzy nuts, and they're kind of going numb. But there you go. But it's got a gorgeous engine. It's the parallel twin engine. It's 77 horsepower, and it's got bundles of torque. And this engine is called the high torque version. So you get a HT version of the engine, and you get a HP version of the engine. And the HT's got a little less horsepower, but it delivers its peak power earlier in the rev range, and it's creamy, punchy, smooth power delivery. It's nice. It's really nice to ride, and you know, if you need to get out of trouble, you've got plenty punch behind you. When they did an upgrade on this bike, they kind of did a facelift a few years back now, where they moved away from a skinnier front tyre at the front and a single brake, and they upgraded the brake to double brakes with twin discs. And you know, the brakes seem fine on it. I've done a wee bit of braking on the bike today, and they don't seem underpowered in any way. They actually feel really quite nice, and the modulation is quite nice as well. I love this little centre cock here that's just got, you know, your speedo on it, and you've got a little sort of LCD dash underneath where you can sort of, you know, scroll through and get some different bits of information. And this bike's also got cruise control. The Speedmaster comes with cruise control as standard, and you know, that's a really good addition to any bike. You've got full LED lights on it. You've got a little single headlight at the front. It just looks cool, you know. I don't think you're never going to go touring on this bike, although there are luggage options that you can fit to the bike if you did want to go a longer trip. But you know, I dare say if someone's buying this bike, there's better motorcycles to buy to do that. You know, this is something that you would take out on nice sunny days. You go for a little run on the bike. You know, you'd go to your local bike meet, or you know, a little run through the countryside like this, through the city even, and it's, you know, a bike that just makes you feel quite special when you're riding it. It's a bit of an event. It's got a lovely soundtrack, and it's got a really creamy, punchy power delivery, and it just makes you feel as if you're riding something really quite different and really quite special. And that's, you know, that's what motorbikes are all about, isn't it, really? You know, if you're not going to be touring the world on your motorbike, and you need something that's going to accommodate lots of different luggage space and, you know, passenger space and all this is just a toy for yourself. You know, it's superb. But they do a Speedmaster version of the bobber, which is almost like a cruiser type bike, where it's got swept back bars, beach bars, and it's got forward pegs on it. You know, and you know, if you were wanting to do something that's got a little bit more touring ability, I think the Speedmaster would definitely be the better option, because it's got a nice big comfortable seat and a rear passenger seat on it as well. But the bobber, I think, is quite a selfish bike. If you are just looking for something to cruise about, feel really cool and look really cool, the bobber should definitely be on your shortlist. It's got a little 12 litre tank, so you know, you're going to get decent mileage out the tank, you know, for the type of work that you would expect this bike to be doing. So, you know, get out for a weekend running the bike, get out with some friends. You know, 12 litres is more than enough, because by the time you ran the fuel dry in this 12 litre tank, I think you'd be wanting to give your backside a wee bit of a rest. No, I don't think you're going to go sitting in this motorcycle and doing 3 hours straight on it. I think you're giving yourself a bit of undue punishment if you do that. you know, the way that they do the exhaust on this bike, you know, and we'll get the bike stopped over and we'll show you, take a walk around the bike and let you see all the different bits and pieces on it. But they make this bike look as if it's an air-cooled engine. The radiator's really quite stealthy on it, it's hidden in the frame almost, and the exhaust, the catalyst is sort of stored underneath the bike, so it makes it look as if it's got a straight through exhaust on it and it's air cooled, and it looks really cool for it. So this Bobber Chrome Edition is 13,795. Now this chrome paint, I remember I was down at the factory sort of last year when we first got a look at these Chrome Edition models, and the guys, the engineers down at the factory were telling us that once they've painted one of the tanks on the bikes, it takes them about maybe 20 minutes to half an hour to hand finish it and bring it up to, say, you know, it's really sort of shiny gloss or matte finish. But they're telling me on these Bobber or on these Chrome Edition models, the tanks, it takes them 3 hours to hand polish these to get that finish. It's absolutely phenomenal when you see it, you know, in the flesh. It's got a really, really peachy 270-degree parallel twin engine that's putting out just shy of 77 horsepower, and it's putting out round about 106 newton meters of torque at 4,000 revs per minute. That is really you know, really punchy, really torquey, as you've seen on the road. You know, just the way that the bike pulls is just phenomenal. It sounds amazing, and it looks really stealthy with this, you know, radiator in here that's sort of almost flush with the frame, that gives it a real sort of air-cooled look, especially with those fins on the sides of the engine. It just makes the bike look really sort of classic looking. You know, with it being a parallel twin, you know, sometimes if you change down the box too early, you're going to end up locking the back wheel. But I'm glad to say on this bike, it's actually got a slipper clutch fitted as standard on the bike. You know, the suspension on the bike's non-adjustable. You've got a set of 47mm Showa cartridge forks up front, and you've got a monoshock RSU with linkage in the back. So you know, as I said, you know, when I was out on the ride in the bike, if anybody's done this quite popular upgrade of putting the Fox shock on the back of it, let us know what you think of it in the comments, because I'm really keen to figure out what that actually feels like when it's on the bike. The handlebars are 800mm wide, and you've got these lovely bar end mirrors on the handlebars as well, and your seat height's between 690 and 700mm. You can actually adjust that seat, but you need a tool to adjust it. So I've not adjusted it today, I've left it exactly where it was, which is the standard setting when it comes out of the factory. The seat height on the bike is absolutely fine for my height. I'm 6 foot, I've got a 32-inch inside leg, and I'm totally flat-footed, and I've got a real good bend in my leg as well when I'm sat on the bike. As I say, it's a 12-litre fuel tank that's in the bike, and you've got this lovely fuel cap with the little button at the top sort of reveals the lock underneath, and you know, it's a sort of side fill on the tank, but it's a really sort of really stylish looking classy tank, and that fuel cap just sets it off. Yeah, I'm sitting on the bike here, I'm doing 60 miles an hour, and the wind isn't actually that bad. The way you're sitting on the bike, you know, you're pulled across the bike forward, and your head's in the wind, braced for the wind, so it's actually okay. It's okay sort of cruising along 60-70 miles an hour on the bike. It handles really, really well actually. You know, that big sort of bigger balloony type front tyre, you might think it would be harder to turn into a corner, but it's not. It turns lovely, but you do need to watch the ground clearance on the bike. The pegs are quite low on it, so you know, you just don't go over enthusiastic. You'll end up grinding out your hero blobs in the pegs. I just love the thrum of the exhaust. It sounds absolutely gorgeous, and it's got really good shove. You know, you can almost feel it shoving you in the backside when you open the throttle on the bike. You know, it's not a big high revving engine. It's all about the sort of meat and bones, the torque and the torque delivery, and just riding the torque on the bike. But it's great fun to ride, and it's got a little sort of rumble. When you change down the gear, you can hear the exhaust sort of rumbling, popping and banging on the overrun. It's lovely. It just makes you feel really cool. You know, when you ride down the street on it, you can actually see people double taking it, because it is that different. You know, you see people looking as if to say, what is that? You know, it's definitely a conversation starter, this bike. You know, I've never known anything like it since I've been into bikes. You know, I've had loads of bikes over the years, but whenever you pull up with these modern classic Triumphs, it's just a conversation starter with people. People just want to know all about the bike, you know, and tell you about their stories about when they had a bike similar, and it's fantastic. It just gets people talking to each other, and you know, it's just a great thing. So there you have it, the Bobber Chrome Edition. What a hoot to ride. I thoroughly enjoyed riding it today. Fantastic fun. You know, if I've earned your subscription today and you've liked the video, please give me a subscribe. It would be really appreciated. And if you've liked the video, stick a like on the video as well. You know, I love taking these Triumph Modern Classics out and doing road tests on them. Every time I throw a leg over one, I just love the feeling you get when you ride them. They're fantastic bikes to ride. Really, it's such a special motorcycle when you sit on it. You know, it's totally different from anything else I've ever ridden. Even though I have ridden plenty of modern classics, the feel that you get when you ride this bike is just something else. But thanks again for tuning in to Moto Photo. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take it easy.